Yo, welcome to another episode of the PlayCallers.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the interactive sports talk radio show for real fans by real fans. I am one half of the dynamic duo, Stephen Box, joined as always by my co-host, the one and the only.
Cool McCain.
So cool, man. We got a lot to talk about tonight.
Yes,
Live
we do.
sports, NBA's in the second round. MLB
Yep.
season's in full effect. Trade deadline just passed. NFL getting ready to start up. College is only a couple weeks away. We've never had this much sports activity this time of year. It's a little crazy, but nice after having a 3 4 month hiatus.
Definitely so. Definitely so, man.
So as people are starting to tune in tonight, just want to remind you guys: make sure that you hit the subscribe button down in the bottom right hand corner, and then that way you always get notifications. We're gonna be doing something a little different today, and I'll remind people as I see more and more people signing on that we are going to be answering any fantasy football questions that you guys have. So feel free to drop those in the comments, and we'll have a session a little later on in the show where we'll make some time for that. So cool, man.
Yeah.
What do you want to kick it off with tonight, man? What's up first?
Well, man, it's a lot of different things that happened last week, man. But I think something we definitely should lead the show off with is the amount of sports figures or sports related figures that passed away since we did the show last week. I think it would be fitting to kind of start out there.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it might be some people that people aren't aware of, man. So if you want to go ahead and actually run through that entire list, just so that people are aware, because they may not be aware of every single person.
Well, it's been kind of been a tough week, man. We had Lute Olson pass away. Coach of the Arizona for a long time, college coach. Um, we had Clifford Robinson, passed away. We had Mike Seager, the baseball player, is a Hall of Famer, really good baseball player. That passed away. It's just a crazy week, man. We also had, a friend of the NBA. We got very much into sports and chat with Bozeman. I think it kind of affected all of us, to some extent or another. Um, Passed away as well. So a lot of, you know, a lot of just important people that, stepped away. And then, of course, the big one, I think to a lot of people was also John Thompson.
Yeah,
So, just a tough week if you're a sports fan, um, pop culture fan. Lost a lot of people that would be faces that you would know.
yeah, I definitely agree with you, man. So much prayers out to the families of all of those men, and you know, it's one of those things, man. It's part of life, but it doesn't make it any less sad.
Definitely not, man. I think for me, they're all tough because we have icons, people that whether you were a heavy fan of the sport or not, certain people just kind of transcend that. When I look at the list, man, of people, and this is not to demoralize or demean anyone on the list, but I think John Thompson and Chadwick Boseman are the two that kind of jump out to me. John Thompson was a guy that mentored quite a few players, and he's passed. We've had some days for that. Um, so it's something that got a chance to get a lot of information on, and found out that he was a mentor to all those kids that came through his program, and his goal was for him to graduate. He gave Allen Iverson a chance when no one would. You know, there was a time when one of his players, I believe it was, can't remember which guy it was now. I was reading an article on it that one of the local drug dealers had been kind of, harassing him.
Yeah,
So he essentially went to the drug dealer and said, "Look, man, leave my kid alone." You know,
yeah,
and he had the pool in the area for the Jordan to be like, all right, man, all right, coach, he's your kid, you know. Um, and he always strove just to make things better, you know. So that's a guy, like I said, if you really want to understand John Thompson, man, go watch Allen Iverson's Hall of Fame induction speech. That's the best piece I can tell you to get an idea of John Thompson and who he was, man, and how he touched so many people that played for his team or not. And you think about Georgetown is known for John Thompson. When I was growing up, man, the only guy I knew about Georgetown was John Thompson and then certain players. But it's
Yeah,
just amazing that he was able to build a program he did there. No scandals, you know, haven't heard any scandals about him. No, he was sexually harassing anybody. He was stealing money. None of those things. He's just a guy that really wanted to see those young men grow, develop, and be in a better place in life than when they got there. You know, and he
absolutely, man.
was, yep. And he started at a time where a lot of people of color didn't have as many opportunities, but he wanted that team to be young men of color so that he could mentor them. So,
Yeah.
just bits and pieces of things for him and things that I've always admired about him and things that I'll be able to carry on the rest of my life thinking about and him being an example for.
Yeah. So I see we do have a few people tuning in. Y'all do us a favor, man. Drop your name and where you're from over in the comments, just so we can say what's up to you, see how you doing. Right now, we are having a conversation about some of the people that we unfortunately lost in the last week since our last show. Um, and cool. You're just talking about John Thompson. And you're right, man. When you think of Georgetown, the only two names that really come to mind is his and Patrick Ewing for me. Like those are the first two names that pop in my head when I think about Georgetown. And I mean, obviously, there was a lot of other group players that went there, but those are just the first two that pop in my head. And Georgetown wasn't like some perennial powerhouse. You know, he turned it into a basketball place. He turned it into something that people wanted to come and be a part of. And to accomplish what he accomplished there is amazing, and even more impressive than all the wins and everything he did is, like you said, it's the stories like what Allen Iverson told in his Hall of Fame speech. It's about who he was as a person. So great coach by all accounts, a great man, and definitely a great loss for the sports world.
Yeah, definitely. And I did also, bring up Chadwick Boseman. I know people may say, well, he wasn't an athlete, but he was closely um, intertwined. Big fan of the NBA. Been to the last couple of All Star games, the one here in Charlotte and the one since then. If I remember correctly, I believe he was a judge at the All Star game last year. I think it's more of just a cultural thing as far as not necessarily one group, but just he was a culture icon. He was a guy that suffered for years in secret,
Yeah,
colon cancer. Was trying to beat it, but at the same time, he was going to visit children that had cancer, doing a request for them, you know, sending them Black Panther gear, toys, different things.
yeah,
This is a guy that just really cared about people, man. And
yeah,
it's funny to find out that Denzel Washington paid for him to go to Juilliard to continue acting. Back when he was in
yeah.
college, it was actually um, in the program that Felicia Rashad did at Howard. More, of course, information has came out after his passing, but it's just amazing to see someone that's just a genuinely good person, see him have the success that he had, his close ties to the NBA. I'm definitely a fan, and to see him pass away early like this is rough. And that's not to diminish the other deaths. Luke Olson was a guy that Arizona head coach for many many years. Great coach, won a lot of games. A lot of his players have had nothing but positive things to say about him as well. So, not to diminish anyone else, Clifford Robinson was a guy that a lot of players looked up to. Seager in baseball, he was kind of one of those guys that most of the guys who play now looked up to him as like one of the Mount Rushmore guys in baseball. So again, they're all important, but to really go to detail in every single one, as we really should. I mean, we need a couple of shows, but just wanted to at least, give my thoughts on a couple of those guys and then acknowledge that all of those guys, um, you know, had a big impact on their specific sports or what sport they were affiliated with.
Yeah, man.
So,
You know, I was gonna say, man, when you talk about, some of these guys and, giving them the respect they deserve, there's no way that we could possibly give every single one of those guys time that they deserve in a 1 hour show. So, hopefully anyone out there that, is in there listening and thinking like, oh, why didn't they talk about so and so? There's no disrespect, man. No disrespect whatsoever. It's much love to all those guys. And you mentioned Chadwick Boseman, man. I do want to just take a second to remind people that you know when pictures started coming out of him being like real skinny, a lot of people kind of was worried about him, but other people decided to make jokes about it. And you just never know what people are going through, man. So just keep that in mind when you're going through those situations. Try not to judge people you don't know what their situation is.
absolutely. And see that we do have Big Rob here, who's a Georgetown fan. So I know he probably um, really feels that and understands John Thompson's impact.
Big shot, Rob. I see some other people out there, man. View, man. Y'all drop y'all name, where y'all from in the comments too, man. Let us shout y'all out and see y'all here. So,
For sure, for sure.
well, man, we definitely want to keep this little upbeat, man. We had to at least take out some time to pay our respects, but there's a lot of other stuff going on, a lot of exciting stuff going on. So what's next on the agenda, man? What are we gonna talk about? What's next,
We got to talk about the NBA playoffs.
bruh? All right, so I know we're gonna talk about the second round because we're in the second round now. But the first round, got extended out by a couple of days because of the protest last week, and so we didn't get to talk about the end of some of the first round matchups. And there were some amazing finishes in the first round of the playoffs. The Denver Utah series, crazy. I mean, it was really fun just watching two young players just absolutely just go at it and just trade like blow after blow at each other, man. It was an amazing thing to see. And then that Oklahoma City and Houston game 7, man, that was crazy. Especially the ending of that game was just absolutely insane.
Yeah. For me, man, the the Denver game, taking myself out of it as a Denver fan, clearly happy that they won. But what was exciting for me was, like you said, the back and forth between Jamal Murray and Spider Mitchell and them doing their thing. But the thing that surprised me the most, um, or that's the wrong word here. The thing that I remember the most from that is the end of the game. Utah lost, bitch was on the ground crying. Jamal Murray went over, grabbed a picture. He was like, "Nah, man, you balled out, man. You ain't got nothing to cry about. It is what it is." And then, the moment where they embraced, man, it was like real, just like two guys that really respected each other and appreciated each other.
Yeah.
And then when Mitchell had his time where he was talking, with the press and everything, uh, and he was saying how it really hurt, and he had been crying about it, straight up about it. And what I respected the most was he's like, but this is nothing compared to the hurt that people are feeling, who are being treated unfairly, murdered, abused, hurt,
Mhm.
and things of that nature. He brought it back to that,
Yeah.
and he said, I can imagine how much I hurt just from losing this game, and I'm gonna go cry when I leave here. But there's bigger issues than it, and I
Yeah.
respect the fact that even in that moment of defeat, and what could have been one of those oh woe is me moments, that he took the time to talk about the issues that have definitely been important to the players. So that stood out to me in that series. Um, in the OKC series, obviously the gameplay, the way it played. What stood out to me was the difference in Russell Westbrook from Game 6 to Game 7. Game 6, he blew it.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, you won't blame one player for a loss, but that turnover late in the game was really bad. But then in Game 7, um, he felt a little bit more like himself. But the James Harden block was
Bruh.
crazy. James Harden actually played picture perfect defense in the clutch
Yep.
and saved the game for his team. Crazy.
And let's give James Harden a lot of credit because offensively he was horrible. That was probably one of the worst offensive games I've seen him play. And,
Yep.
and we've seen him play some really bad offensive games and clutch games like that. The difference is this time he didn't pout, he didn't give up, he locked in, and he made an impact in the game in other ways. He got his teammates open shots. And then like you said, when that clutch moment came down, unbelievable defensive effort that he actually played there. So, you know, I have to give him his props. I mean, if we were sitting here and he doesn't do that and they blow that game, then we're sitting here tonight talking about James Harden once again dropping the ball, not coming through in the clutch, and we're sitting here blaming him for them losing. So it would be disrespectful to not give him his credit for actually stepping up and doing what he had to do to help his team get that win.
Absolutely, man. And just the thing about it is that play, like to make that play. So second round game, Giannis had a similar sort of play in that running toward the guy trying to make a block. It didn't work out so well for him,
Yeah.
but to be able to understand like the dynamics of being able to make that play. So you're essentially running out full speed to a player who is going to shoot a jump shot. And you're able to get to the point where you can get around the player, hit the ball with your offhand, ensure that there's no contact and space in between you and the player, where you can both come down and there's no way the referees can call a foul in the bubble.
Mm-hmm.
That's next level impressive, man. That's difficult to do, and all props to James Harden for that play. No matter what he does the rest of his career, that's how you do
it. And then look, even though it ended up being a mute point because the ball was technically out of bounds, to then have the awareness level of watching what the guys are about to try to do and hit you with the ball and avoid the contact of them trying to throw the ball off of you. I mean, because you gotta think, man. If you're running like you said, you're running full speed, you're trying to make that play. You go up and you actually block the shot. It would be so easy at that point to kind of just come down and have a little celebration in your own head, right? Like you're like, I just did it. I'm the greatest. But he didn't do that. He stayed locked in and he had the awareness to dodge that ball. And even though, like I said, even if it would have hit him, it wouldn't have mattered. But just the fact that he had the awareness to do that, there's some props for that. Because that's pretty impressive.
He was definitely locked in on that play. Old school Jordan level, at least for that play, he was locked in.
Oh, and Rob, we gotta talk about some NFL cuts. Don't worry. So, second round. I'm actually about to check what the score is now. Last I saw, Milwaukee was up, but they were down 0-2 in this series, man, and it was looking like they just. We were joking. I called them the other day, Giannis and the Watchers, because that's all they were doing. They were sitting around watching Giannis play basketball, and Miami just looked like an infinitely better team. But I think you pointed out earlier, man. They came out and started disrespecting Giannis. You know, Richard Jefferson over there calling him Scottie Pippen. So Giannis is going out there. He's having his LeBron headband moment right now. He's going out there ready to prove something.
I tell you, man, a lot of people may have not watched the game too, but if you watch that game, there was two really bad calls.
Mm.
But Giannis, just the hand on Jimmy Butler lost him that game. And you can't say like, oh, it's his fault, because there's several plays you can go back to the game and say, but just that play. So you got him sitting there thinking, I blew it. I'm supposed to be the star. I blew it. And then on top of that, and we'll get into this in a few minutes, it needs its own conversation, but in my opinion, disrespect that was shown to Giannis, if he's going to come out and he's going to play hard because of those two things.
Well, just an update for you. Miami has retaken the lead. The score is 104-100 with 2:26 left.
Yeah. And see, here's the thing, man.
Oh.
The first game was still sort of close, but these games are going to all be close. Miami's a better team than I thought they were, and I'm fine with admitting that. Miami's better than I thought they were. They're a good team. They have depth, they have length, and they have a dog in Jimmy Butler. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean in the best, most respectful way possible. You need a guy on your team that's a dog. The guy that says, "Oh, you want to start my teammate? I'm in your face."
Yep.
The guy that says, "Hey, look, man, F this. We gonna win this." You know what I'm saying? No matter what. I'll go hard on the team. I'll be the dude that they hate on. I'll be the dude that they focusing on. It don't even matter. You have to have one of those guys. And Miami does. And then they've got a lot of young talent that's grown and developed under his and Iguodala now's tutelage. So, and Dragic, of course, another veteran. So you've got a good mix. Miami is a solid team. But Milwaukee's the better team. They're better than the sum of their parts when they're all playing the way that they should play.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen that in too many games in the bubble, so they could get knocked out, but they have to win this game. This is a must-win game for Milwaukee.
Well, it's not looking good at the moment. It's 107-100 with 53 seconds left. So, and I told you the other day, and I'm not saying this to take away from Miami. I don't foresee Miami realistically competing for a championship this year. They might not even make it out of the East. And I know a lot of people might be like, well, they're on the verge right now going up 3-0 on the number one seed in the East. How could you possibly say they might not make it out of the East? The thing is, I don't think what we're seeing right now is an indication that Miami is this good. I think this is an indication that they are a matchup nightmare for Milwaukee. And sometimes you just get the wrong matchup in a playoff series.
Yeah, it does happen.
It might be that one team that just might be better than them.
Yep, because of how versatile they are, it does. It would affect a team like Milwaukee. That depends a lot on Giannis. We also saw the Clippers and Nuggets last night, and just another way to put it, man.
It was slightly less competitive.
The Clippers pretty much waxed them, man. They gave them the work. I was just happy that it's just one game. I'll be honest with you, man. I'm a Nuggets fan. Everybody knows. I'm a Nuggets fan. But if the Clippers are playing like that, it's going to be difficult to win the series. But you got to come out and you got to play and you got to make the games competitive. At this point, that's what you're trying to do. Just keep it moving. Play hard. Try to make the right plays. and try to be better the rest of the series. But right now, the Clippers are looking like the team I expected them to be when I said before the bubble started and when we were going through the seeding games that could beat the Lakers, in a series. Up until the last maybe two games, I was like, maybe I was wrong. I wasn't 100% um, not buying my own prediction, but I was like, man, they're not really helping me out. But they're starting to round in the shape, in the form a little bit, and they're starting to look like the team I expected them to be. And they should be getting Pat Beverly back. That's going to be another boost for them. So um, the Clippers will probably make pretty short work of them. They have two, superstars. One that's one of the best players in the league right now. The other guy seems to have gotten over whatever the issues were that had him playing poorly. That's a pretty dangerous duo to have to deal with. So, you know,
So uh
they're
so
looking good.
so Rob commented that sometimes you get the wrong matchup with women. Hey Rob, we can't help you with that, man. We're just here to talk sports, man. We'll be happy to answer your fantasy football questions later, man. But can't answer the women problems for you, bro. You on your
Rob,
own.
you're not dragging us down that rabbit hole, bro. You go down there by yourself.
Like I was talking to Craig earlier, man, and he was talking about how he's like, hey man, sometimes us men we say dumb things, and that's our downfall. And he said this lady asked, what do you think is women's problem? He said, hey, I say we're dumb, not stupid. Not answer that question.
What up, Big E? I see you popping up in the chat all of a sudden.
Uh oh. Big E popped up just to laugh at Rob.
Hey, man.
Hey man, misery loves company, man.
It does. It really does, man.
Appreciate both y'all
So,
being here tonight too. So
man, I gotta, quickly just kind of give my opinion on the whole Giannis, Richard Jefferson, and all that situation. So to me, you're disrespectful. Giannis is a back-to-back MVP and Defensive Player of the Year this year. Um, you clearly seen in the playoffs that if he doesn't have an amazing game, that they can't win. So to say that he can't be Jordan is it's kind of disrespectful. Now he does have holes in his game. So a lot of people say Giannis needs to learn how to shoot the three. What I would say is Giannis needs to develop the mid-range game. Don't even worry about the three. You can learn, you can practice that, but if you practice your free throw line extended around, like think about the 3-point line, but as the free throw line and around. If you can get where you can make shots from there in, you will be one of the most dangerous players in the NBA. Obviously, at some point, you want to work on your three. Most of the better players in the league develop that over time, but your ability to drive, Giannis, is like amazing. Your Euro step is unstoppable unless you just put up a wall. But that mid-range game gives you more danger in your repertoire.
mm-hmm.
And Giannis, one of the things that I see with Giannis, you have to develop a killer instinct. You have to want to be the one to put the dagger in another team. You have to be the one to say, oh, you just scored like 5 points in a row. You think you're just going to do us like that? Nah, you're not. I'm shutting that down. And that's something that I think some people have, some people can develop, some people never will. I hope with all the talent that Giannis has, is he's one of those people that does develop that. But I mean, he's a great talent. It's just a matter of putting it all together and doing what needs to be done, and hopefully he is able to do that.
Yeah, man. People forget, how young he still is, and he's got a lot of time to add these little wrinkles to his game and develop that. And I think having some years of frustration, it tends to be a good thing, right? I mean, when we look at a lot of the all time greats, they had periods in their career where they struggled, and they help them to develop that killer instinct. So I think that these experiences are going to be good for him. It's going to make him realize, hey, I got to be willing to go out there and completely take over games. I can't sit back and hope that other people step up. It has to be me. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that. Um, you know, this game's got about 25 seconds left, and it's a 12-point game right now. So looking like it's going to be 3-0 in this series. And going to the other series is starting up tonight, which is LA and Houston. I'm gonna be honest with you, and I don't mean this is any disrespect to Houston because they got a lot of talented players. LA better not lose more than one game in the series because they should absolutely massacre Houston on the boards. It should be a massacre on both ends. And if you're giving, like, I know LA's not the greatest shooting team, but if you're giving these guys 2, 3 opportunities to get shots to go in, they're going to score enough points to beat you. And the way they play defense, I would have been more concerned about this series had we not just watched LA completely shut down Dame and CJ McCollum after that first game after they went off. They just basically just shut them down after that. So I'm not really concerned about this series so much, honestly. So I don't know. You can tell me, am I being a homer? Is that realistic to think that LA should be able to win and not lose more than one game?
Oh, you're definitely a homer, but
Okay, an unrealistic one.
I think even if they win in 6, it's good because Houston can get hot a couple of times and rain some threes. But what you don't want to do is take this game to 7. You want to make a solid statement that we're getting this done in 6 at the worst. The funniest thing for this for me, and I meant to tell you this earlier, but I forgot. So I was on, forgot it was either Facebook or Instagram, and they had taken the Monstars, a little clip of the Monstars when you had the real tall blue guy, and then Tweety Bird was on the ground, and they made the real tall guy into Anthony Davis, and it made PJ Tucker into the Tweety Bird. So it was like Anthony Davis was like, "How you gonna stop me?" and blah blah blah. And then little PJ Tucker was like, "Well, I'm gonna play defense on you, and I'm gonna box you out, and I'm gonna show you how a shorter man can take over the post." And he just dribbled the ball and flattened it. I was like, "This is cold blooded." It was so funny, and it really, like, to me, I could see LA Lakers maybe taking them lightly if they get up like 3-1, and Houston having a good game and maybe popping out a second win. But I don't think that the wins that LA have are even going to be close for most of the series. I'd be surprised if they are, but it could be some. But I think Houston has enough offensive firepower to get 2 games out of the series. They could only get 1. Heck, they could get none, but they have enough firepower to, if the stars align right, they could probably win a couple of games. But I don't see. I would be greatly surprised if the LA team do not meet in the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I'd be pretty surprised by that too.
Yeah, they both should get there. I'm just gonna be real. As a Nuggets fan, I'm telling you, they both should get there. Now the other series, I think, is going to be 7. Bag them up, knock them up, shoot them down, old school, 100, 105 max game series, and that's that Raptors Celtics. Did you see that finish last night,
bruh? We talked about it, man. It was like shades of Robert Horry. He just so nonchalantly just knocked it down, just drained it to end that game. I mean, that's crazy, man. Like, those are all going to be close games. Like you said, I think that series is going to go 7, and it's going to, every single game is going to just be guys out there just pushing, shoving, fighting in each other's face, playing hard. It's going to be good old school basketball, man.
Yeah, and that shot, man, like that whole sequence was crazy. I mean, you got the Kimba comes down, breaks the double team, gets in the lane, makes the perfect pass, but he grabs the shot, bangs in the dunk. It's like zero point 0.5 seconds left. They get the ball. Toronto advances it. Kyle Lowry said after the game the play was supposed to go to Van Vliet or Siakam, but he saw OJ Anunoby on the other end of the court wide open, and he made the pass over Taco Fall to Anunoby. Anunoby caught it, stroked it right in. Crazy.
Super crazy, bro.
It definitely saved the Raptors. They put them back into the series. But honestly, man, the Raptors, man, they're a really good team.
They're
It's
scrappy, man. They're scrappy.
it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I do agree they're scrappy. You lose your best player, you lose your 3-point specialist, and you may even become a better team.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
mean,
just crazy.
we said I don't know. I don't know if they announced who won Coach of the Year yet, but Nick Nurse definitely deserves to be in that conversation.
You'd have to check and see if they announced Coach of the Year yet. But he definitely at least should be in that conversation. Worst case scenario, he should be a finalist,
Yeah,
um, even if he doesn't win. And what's going on, Eric? We see your question. We got you when we get to the segment here. We'll probably hop on that in the next few minutes. So we probably have some things we maybe have to cover next week. But
yeah. Well, before we exit basketball, we gotta talk about the other big story coming out of the NBA right now, which is the New Jersey Nets hiring of your boy Steve Nash.
we do.
So I know there's a lot of opinions on this, and it's some people are upset because they feel like this is another example of a underqualified white coach getting an opportunity over more established African American coaches. And I don't necessarily have an issue with that because it is a fairly valid argument. Some people feel like this is a case of Kevin Durant basically hand selecting the coach that he wanted to work with, and that's why they went out and made this move. And that may very well have been the case, unless I hear Kevin Durant actually come out and say, "Yes, I went out and petitioned for him to be our coach." I'm not going to assume that that's the case. But my point and my thing when I look at it is they're either going to come out of this looking like geniuses or absolute idiots. Because a week ago, the rumors were you were going to go out and you were going to try to convince Popovich to leave San Antonio and come and coach up there. And then a week later, you're settling for a guy that's never even coached anywhere at any level, at any position. He's never been an assistant, nothing. He's been a consultant. And I understand the man played for a long time. He's a Hall of Famer and all that stuff. Being a Hall of Famer doesn't make you a good coach. Matter of fact, most great coaches actually are horrible players. So I don't understand the move. You went out and you convinced Kyrie and KD to come and you could put all this talent there, and then you go out and you hire a guy who's never coached anywhere. I don't understand it, man. Can you make any sense of it?
Well, I'll give you, my thoughts on it. Try to be as brief as I can for time constraint purposes, but I'll give you my thoughts on it. So I know that Kevin Durant had a pre-existing relationship with Steve Nash. He was someone that worked with him before as a shooting coach and different things. So there's a relationship there. Though all the reports say that Kyrie and Durant signed off on this head coaching hire. My thing is I do see a degree of privilege in this hire. And my biggest thing with it is the lack of experience at all. You know, I have more coaching experience than Steve Nash. You know, everybody I've ever coached against in the AAU game when I coached AAU has more coaching experience than Steve Nash. So my thing is, I know Richard Jefferson again. He wanted to bring up Jason Kidd, how he went from playing to coaching. The main difference was by the time Kidd retired, because he played a long time, he was really a coach anyway.
Yeah.
He wasn't starting anymore. He was barely playing. He was kind of a coach already on the floor and on the side. And also he did it directly from playing, so the opportunity was just kind of like, okay, you've been playing. Here's a coaching opportunity. You want to take it. This was more a design move to get this particular person. For whatever reason, um, Brooklyn is of the belief that Steve Nash is going to be the guy to help them win a championship. What's funny is he's a commentator for soccer right
Yeah.
now. So you're essentially taking a guy that was the commentator for a soccer league, and he's coming to coach your NBA team. So we're not even talking about a guy that was acting right now consultant for a team, team president, a scout, had any affiliation with a NBA organization,
Yeah.
and we're making him the head coach. So from a logical perspective, I have to hold off completely judging this until I see the staff that he puts together. If he puts together a good veteran staff, then the hire can make sense, a la Tyronn Lue, his first staff. A lot of guys, if you're a young coach, you have a strong set of assistants. So if he's able to do that, this could possibly be a good move. But looking at what I know as of now, I'd have to say that at least to some extent, Kevin Durant used influence to make this move happen.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. And like I say, I'm not going to just assume that to be the case unless I hear Kevin Durant come out and say it. But I wouldn't find it unbelievable either.
I'm gonna believe you.
But hey, man, well, hey, man, I think I saw somebody posted in the comment section on one of the articles I was looking at earlier, and I think it summed it up pretty well. This is either going to be the greatest decision that the Nets have ever made, or is going to be the worst decision they have ever made. I don't see this falling in the middle. It's gonna be one of those type of situations. So let us know in the comments what you guys think about that, man. How do you feel? Do you feel that there's some people that got passed over that should have got an opportunity? If so, who? And do you how do you feel just in general about a guy with no coaching experience getting a head coaching job in NBA, regardless of what his
On any
pedigree
level,
is?
middle school, high school, AAU, Park and Rec, YMCA, none.
Nathan, no history whatsoever.
Nothing.
So I was looking through some of the NFL cuts here, trying to see kind of updating to see if there's any big names that are out there. And truthfully, there's really not that many.
No.
You might want to go check your lineup though. I think your kicker from Tampa got cut.
It's
Might
a
want,
kicker.
might want to check your
Just
fantasy lineup. Yeah, just go grab somebody.
Yeah.
A lot of teams haven't really announced their cuts just yet. So obviously the big one is Leonard Fournette going to Tampa as a free agent because he cleared waivers. What do you think about that? What does that do for Tampa? Do you think he's an upgrade? Do you think he's an upgrade over Ronald Jones or?
Of course, he's an upgrade. This is a guy who was a beast demon in college and has been on some really bad Jaguars offensive teams. and has still put up good numbers. Um, Clearly, this is one of those cases of he's getting ready to come off their rookie deal. We don't want to pay him that what's going to take to keep him, so he's got to go.
Yeah.
I don't blame Jacksonville when you don't really have much else because you traded everything else away anyway on not wanting to put that much money in a running back. You know, I think Tampa's a perfect spot. I know the reports are that Jones is going to keep the starting job, and Fournette's going to have to earn his carries and snaps, and there's still going to be a role for McCoy.
Yeah.
But newsflash: if you're drafting in a fantasy league, you might want to grab under Fournette.
Yeah.
Just saying, you might want to do that.
Yeah.
He will be the start on that team a few weeks into the season, and he will be the bell cow running back. And he will have a lot of lanes because there's a lot of pass catching monsters on that team.
Yep. So what I will say is, if you already drafted and you went out and got Ronald Jones because you thought he was going to do something great, maybe you go out there and try to make a trade or pick up a free agent off the waiver wire this week before somebody else realizes you're a mistake, because it's about to change.
Oh yeah.
And I'll go ahead.
I was gonna say, Muhammad Sanu got cut.
I was about to say
Adrian
this.
Peterson, yeah, Clinton Dix, so a couple of other, not necessarily mega names, but some names got cut.
Sanu is a guy I'm personally interested in out of San Francisco because we've had so many injuries at receiver. Uh, we got a couple guys that will hopefully be getting back for week one, but that's not guarantees. So if you can go and bring in a guy who has played in the offense before, that's definitely a benefit. So that's what I'm interested in. Not that I think he is a game changer at this point in his career, but good solid receiver who already knows the offense. So I'll personally keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, y'all one of the rumored landing spots for him as well.
Well, well, man, I made the joke earlier that if a wide receiver comes available, that Philadelphia and San Francisco will definitely both get mentioned. So
for us, it's if a left tackle comes available, we'll get mentioned. But Eric asked the question: who do we feel would be some leading offensive point makers, QBs, and wide receivers for fantasy? That's a good question. I think for me, of course, Lamar Jackson.
mm-hmm.
I think Deshaun Watson is going to have a better year because he doesn't really have one guy to focus on. So it's just whoever's open, read and react. So I think that'll make him a better quarterback numbers wise, statistical wise. They do have a back in David Johnson. If he can stay healthy, he'll be able to catch the ball out of the backfield, which is a new dynamic that they'll have from their starting guy. So, I think he'll have a better statistical year. And of course, Pat Mahomes.
Yep.
No question about that. I'll just give a few so that way I'm not taking everybody from you, so you don't have people that you can give. And then I'll let you go, and I'll come back with a couple of wide receivers.
So Deshaun Watson is another guy I actually picked up as my fantasy quarterback. Pro tip for you guys: if you get Aaron Rodgers, make sure you trade him by week 10 because he will disappoint you after that. Drew Brees is a guy who's always solid, is going to always put up a bunch of yards for you. A couple guys that I think could possibly take the next step this year. They won't be number one options, but if you're desperate for a quarterback at this point and you need somebody, I'm looking at Drew Lock to take the next step and have a great year in Denver. And I also expect for Kyle Shanahan to want to come out and prove to everybody that Jimmy Garoppolo is the guy and to have a better statistical year this year than he had last year. Again, not saying either one of those guys are going to be top tier quarterbacks or they're going to be your number one. But if you are at a point where you're desperate for a quarterback, those are two guys to definitely look at. And one other additional name I'll throw in there that's probably not available in your league, but if you haven't drafted yet, I would consider looking at Kyler Murray.
I'll tell you a guy that if you can grab him in the middle of the draft, the amount of speed that he's going to have a wide receiver this year, and two tight ends who catch the ball, and a running back who wants to catch the ball, that you should go after. It's quarterback for this team right here. You may want to look at him. Just saying. Don't do it. All good. All school.
And
He's going to have a phenomenal statistical year. Just watch.
my buddy Joe Chadburn did reply to me earlier on Facebook. He's got an interview to film tonight, so he's probably not going to be able to join us live. But he did want me to let everybody know that you should definitely draft Cam Newton over Tom Brady.
Clearly, he's a diehard Patriots fan, so I can respect that. To still be a Patriots fan, I can respect that.
Yeah.
Wide receivers. So there's a lot of guys that, you always talk about, and we always talk about they're going to be great. So the Eagles have two guys that I think are going to have monster seasons: Deshaun Jackson and Jalen Reagor. And the reason I think is it's going to be big week for one, focus on him. Big week for the other one. Got to take him away. Big week for the other one. So I think it's going to go one of those where you'll get good seasons out of both, but week to week they could lose you a game or win you a game, just depending on which one, once Reagor's healthy, that teams decide to try to take away. Because speed-wise, they both are very flight of foot, and they will be able to make a lot of big plays. Obviously, big play receivers are boom or bust, but I think that they'll have enough big plays. I think Reagor's eager to prove that he's the number one first-round pick, so he'll be willing to, run the screens. He'll be willing to run, the short routes, the slants, the hooks, the in and outs, the different things, just to show, hey, I'm worthy of this pick. Jackson, we know at this point, is a one-trick pony. I'm not knocking him because he's good at that one trick. I think those are two guys that will have good seasons. I actually think Hollywood Brown is going to have a much better season with Lamar Jackson. I think that second year of them playing together and getting comfortable in the system and the way he plays, I think it's going to take a big impact. They're always going to have a good running game in Baltimore, so you're going to have to pay attention to that. So it's going to allow him to get some one-on-one coverages and make some plays. I think T.Y. Hilton is going to have a breakout year with Phillip Rivers throwing the ball. Rivers
not just
finding the guy.
Not just Phillip Rivers, but keep in mind they have a great offensive line and a solid running game too. So Phillip Rivers is going to have time back there.
Oh, they do. I think T.Y. Hilton's going to be the guy that he locks on, because he locks on the one guy. Thing about Phillip Rivers, he'll spread the ball around, but when he needs to make a play, he's going to have one guy in mind, and that guy's going to get a great pass.
It's going to be T.Y. Hilton.
What he does with it is up to him, but he's going to have the opportunities, I think. One other guy that I think is going to have a big breakout season is Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
I think he's prime now that Sanu's is gone. He's had the all season to kind of work into that number 2 role. I think he's going to have a very strong season point-wise in fantasy football. And that's why I kept him.
I agree with a lot of those. Another guy that you didn't mention, and I'm sure Rob will probably agree with this. I think Michael Gallup is going to be a huge pickup in fantasy, because Amari's just inconsistent, and somebody needs to be the more consistent guy there. I think adding CeeDee Lamb to the receiving core is going to really open up some opportunities. It's going to make it hard to double guys. But because Amari is technically the number 1, he's going to be the guy who draws most of the double teams. And I think Michael Gallup is going to be the guy who benefits the most from that. You got a couple of guys, some of the obvious no-brainer ones. You got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin down to Tampa. They should both have great years. Stephon Diggs is going to be an interesting one. Bit of a boomer bust on there. It all depends on what his quarterback is able to do. So he could be a boomer or bust. It'll be interesting to see. Those guys are going to have to kind of support each other. With Stephon Diggs now gone, Adam Thielen should be in line to pick up even more catches this year, and Kirk Cousins already loves him. So I would look for Adam Thielen to be another really solid receiver. And the one that I'm really thinking a lot of people are going to sleep on is one you already mentioned, which is Hollywood Brown up in Baltimore. He got injured last year, and people don't really realize how well he was playing beforehand. But man, he's going to be killing it. I know that he only asked about quarterbacks and wide receivers, but I'm going to give you a couple of sleeper picks at running back. Make sure if you get an opportunity, and this jerk next to me already took him from me. Cam Akers is going to be an absolute monster out in LA. Thanks for that jerk face. Took him literally like 4 picks before I got him. But the other guy that I'm gonna be on the lookout for, also in the NFC West, is Jared McKinnon. Everyone is going to be focused on drafting Mostert, and he'll get his carries this year. But you gotta think, man, Kyle Shanahan's been waiting for. This is going on season number 3 that he's been waiting to get Jared McKinnon on the field, and he's a pass catching back.
Yeah.
He's going to get the football. And the best part is, no one is going to jump on him early. You can get him late. I picked him up, I think, like round 10 or so in our league. Yahoo told me I was actually the last person to draft a running back in our league. That might have something to do with the fact that I had 3 running backs as keepers, but the I got him super late. So a guy that if he's out there late in the draft, I suggest you take a flyer on him. So I don't know if you have any running backs you want to throw out there real quick. Any suggestions on that? Any
Absolutely.
sleepers?
I already said Leonard Fournette, without a doubt. Up in Philadelphia, I would draft Boston Scott. Um, he's a guy that's going to get touches. He's short, but he's a small, powerful bat. So I think he'll get some touches in the red zone as well. He'll eat some vultures from touchdowns away from Saunders. Um, you got the usual suspects, Saquon, is going to do his thing. I think Clark was, what is it, Edwards Hilaire.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a major year.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be a monster.
Yeah, he's going to come in and he's going to be the guy, like pretty much from the beginning. And as long as he doesn't blow it, he's going to just be fed the ball. And he's in an offense where everybody's just doing their thing, and it's going to be just amazing what they're going to be able to do. So I'm very excited to see kind of how that's going to play out with them. We also have a couple of other teams that have some sleepers. I won't get into all of them because got to leave something for people to figure out on their own.
Yeah.
But the guy in Indianapolis, his name, I forgot his name. Maybe Edwards.
Oh, Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah, cat out of Wisconsin.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that is going to go in there and about halfway through the year, he's going to take over full time probably, and he's ready. Running back to me is a position that translates the quickest. So there's a lot of guys that are going to get opportunities that are going to make it happen. Jacksonville, you got to think they got a couple of running backs down there. You don't know which one yet, but they got a couple of guys who were drafted because Fournette's now gone.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few teams who have guys that are sleepers. And think about this too. A lot of your teams have 2 guys that get a lot of carries. So you look at like Chicago, Tariq Cohen, David Montgomery, they've made that work. So you think about the teams that are going to be doing that. I'm not going to get to everyone, but think about teams who will have that 2-back system in place. And think about the second back, because everybody's going to go after the first name. But you got to have a backup. You got to have a change of pace. Maybe the one back is a power back, and you need the quick back to go with him. Maybe one guy's a quicker back, and you need the power back to smash in. So think about those guys as well when you're, looking at your rosters to get prepared for your drafts.
Yeah. And a guy that I'll be interested in seeing what he does this year is Melvin Gordon. He took a lot of time off last season, uh,
Mm-hmm.
played okay when he came back, and then towards the end of the year was playing really good. So he's going to go up there to Denver and get a chance to earn some reps up there. So that'll be an interesting one to see.
Oh yeah.
See if he can regain his form. So
There's a lot of good, there's a lot of great guys to get out there running back. Don't forget Josh Jacobs up in Oakland or
yeah,
Vegas now, excuse me, Las Vegas.
that's going to take some getting
So,
used to saying, man.
yeah, it's gonna take some getting used to, but it is there. So it's a lot of different people. We didn't even get into tight ends, but
Yeah.
same thing with tight ends, man. Look at your teams who have the tight ends that are pass catchers as well as blockers, guys that can stay on the field. And then look at your teams that are going to employ multiple tight end sets, like Tampa Bay, Philadelphia is going to do it. I think Chicago might do it this year. So just think about the teams that are going to employ lineups where they're going to have multiple tight ends on the field a lot. And think about both of those guys when you're drafting, because one guy gets hurt, the next guy's got to step up, and we already know there's going to be more injuries than normal because of how things went in the offseason.
Yep. So one thing I will point out when it comes to tight ends, this is what I always try to look at. You have your obvious names, right? Your Kittles and your Kelseys and uh, your Ertzes, like those guys are no brainers. But if you want to figure out, okay, what are going to be good tight ends? So you look at quarterbacks who traditionally have thrown the ball to tight ends a lot. So a team like Indianapolis, Philip Rivers loves throwing to the tight end. So maybe you go and you draft a tight end out of Indianapolis, or you look for teams that like to run the ball a lot. Teams that tend to run the ball a lot, when they do throw the ball, it usually is in the red zone, and it's usually to a guy sneaking out of the backfield, normally the tight end, who pretends to be blocking for the run, and it goes out for a pass. So you have to think about what those opportunities are going to be, because tight ends generally aren't going to get a lot of catches or a lot of yards. You're really counting on them to be touchdown machines. So really think about the situations in which your tight ends are going to be scoring touchdowns, and that's how you go out and you get a solid tight end if you're not able to get one of the big names.
Yep.
So hopefully, some of those help you guys out with your drafts as you get ready to do those, and we'll include at least a few minutes every week for any questions y'all might have. You can send those to us throughout the week, or you can get on the show and ask them live, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. But we probably won't just volunteer any of our fantasy knowledge going forward unless you guys ask, because some of the people in our league might be watching. Can't be, can't be telling all of our secrets and messing around and losing. So
all the information. Can't give away the cookies for free.
Yeah. So, well, man, we are a few minutes over. Want to once again appreciate everybody tuning in. Do us a favor, man. If y'all enjoy the show, give us a like. YouTube will show our show to more people. The more that we get likes and comments and shares and subscriptions. So make sure you do all that and help us get the show out there a little bit more. But we definitely appreciate all of y'all tuning in. Much love to Eric and Big Rob for jumping in the comments tonight and interacting with us. Definitely appreciate y'all.
Absolutely.
And just as a reminder for you guys, the link is going to be in the description of the video. You can subscribe to our podcast as well and be able to listen to the show on the go. So if you're ever not able to catch the show live and you want to be able to listen to it in your car or whatever, you can listen to it on the podcast too. So,
oh yeah.
But man,
we'll be there for you in whatever way that we can for you to hear the play calls.
Yay. Well, with that, man, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, so I can go ahead and watch the rest of this Lakers and Houston game that I've definitely got going on the on my desktop right here on my tablet, off to the left. You probably see me kind of like peek down every once in a while, just kind of checking out the score. But
This guy.
hey man, we're a sports talk show. It's so if you're going to have a job where people are going to criticize you for sneaking and watching a game while you're doing your show, this would be the only one, right?
Fair enough.
Oh, Eric said he listens on Spotify too, so definitely appreciate that, Eric, man. Good luck.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well, guys, time to remind you that even the sun goes down
And heroes eventually die.
and horoscopes often lie.
But sometimes why?
Nothing is for sure.
Nothing is for certain.
But until they close the curtain,
It's him and I.
the play callers. Y'all better know that.
Yeah.
ATL to Charlotte, North Carolina.
Y'all better know that.
See y'all next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Tell a friend and tell a friend to tell a friend. Holler next week.